A budget is putting a fence around what you value, because really when you're creating your budget, you're asking yourself, what do I value most? I'm going to prioritize those expenses first.
All right, we're really running out of time now. Let's
Moving
go to
on. Georgia from Little Rock.
From Little Rock. I don't like to live by a strict budget. Amen to that. Will I have to do that in retirement? Well, that depends on your situation, Georgia. I think the thing about budgets, and you know, certainly there's a lot of tools out there for you to designate every dollar, right? You know where every dollar is. That takes a lot of time and effort, and for a lot of people, it's probably needed, right? If you're trying to get out of debt, if you're trying to make sure your retirement contributions are made. If you have assets, and probably a significant amount of assets, and you have a written retirement income plan, and you live in those parameters and have those guardrails in place, I don't think your budget has to be to the penny. What are your thoughts on that?
No, even while you're working, you have a range that you stay in to stay solvent.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm not at the point where I watch every single dollar. I understand exactly how much my expenses are, but I have a range that I know if I stay under this number, we're going to be good this month.
Yep.
And so I don't have to track every single expense. I just track kind of where we're at within that range. In retirement, the challenge with not having some sort of budget is that you don't have guardrails if you don't have a plan.
Right.
And so if you don't know what that range is, or if you don't have enough assets, that can become a problem for you where you need to track it more carefully. But, you know, for us, financial independence means having the assets to produce your income for the rest of your life. And having that plan helps you know what range you can spend. We have a lot of clients who we give them their plan and we talk about what asset level or income level, they could use.
Right.
Many of them don't choose to take all of that as a distribution every single month, but it lets them know where that kind of line is.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because, and sometimes we're even sending them that money and they'll come in for their first annual review and go, man, my savings account is just kind of piling up. We need to back that off, right? The guardrail is you really can't go over that or it threatens your assets. But if you have that top line number or less, then that gives you a lot of freedom. We actually are fond of saying having that written retirement income plan is actually a license to spend because you have those guardrails in place. You know what you can get up to even if you don't need it. So, Georgia, I think the key thing there is evaluating what do you have saved above and beyond what your guaranteed income sources are going to be. Because if you are living just on Social Security, and I would even use this moment to make a point about teachers or public workers who think they're going to be good with Social Security and a pension and nothing else, think about how that's going to come to you. It's going to come to you on a monthly basis, and that's the only access you'll ever have to it. So in that case, you may be looking at living on a strict budget because you have nowhere else to go to get income on a consistent monthly basis, but also any lump sum purchases along the way.
Yes.
Some of your retirement accounts could be used for that too. So I think that's a good question. There's a lot in that answer. I think ideally I would say certainly you don't want to have to live by a strict budget, but you do need a retirement income plan to know what your guardrails are.
But I do want to also kind of address budgets in general because we do talk about that a lot on Talking Sense. I want to kind of shift your thought process on what a budget is. If you bought a home, you're going to likely want to put up a fence over your backyard just to protect your property. A budget is putting a fence around what you value because really when you're creating your budget, you're asking yourself, what do I value most? I'm going to prioritize those expenses first. And that helps you align your spending with those values and be intentional. Anything that we're intentional about is going to be more successful. That's why budgets do matter. But again, it does not have to be a to the penny, every dollar kind of budget.
Yeah, and I would kind of end here by saying also to anyone who's looking at that, walking into retirement, living on a strict budget may also be remedied. You may not have to do that if you have eliminated your debt. You know,
Yes.
It's very hard to live debt-free all your life. Some people do it, but certainly at the end of your work life is a great time to have it all out of the way so that all of your income, minus your little bit of monthly expenses that will still exist, like taxes and insurance and food and groceries and things like eating out, things like that, utilities, clothing, the basic lifestyle that you'll need from that expense, that monthly expense, but then everything else can go towards discretionary income. That eliminates your problem with a strict budget is not having any debt. And that's what we coach our clients on too, is ideally you want to enter retirement, because that is a huge part of financial independence, is to not owe anybody anything when you get there.